Welcome to Anti-Woke and Autistic. One of the things that really bugs me, it's pretty much at the top of the list that bugs me about fat acceptance is when they all tell you that if you don't like the way fat bodies look, if you have any kind of aversion to fat bodies, whether you don't want one yourself or you're just not attracted to them or you just don't like the way they look, they all tell you that it's because it's culturally ingrained, that society taught you to feel that way, and I completely disagree. It's absolutely ridiculous. We are hardwired by nature not to find obesity, a body like Jabba the Hutt, to be attractive. Now, there's a woman on Instagram who posted something along these lines, and she did it in a rather classy way. I don't think she's so much a fat activist, but she's still very misinformed about in terms of believing that if you don't like fat bodies, it's culturally ingrained. She says here, obviously, no one has to be attracted to fat people. However, she also says if you are not or have never been attracted to fat people but have been attracted to smaller bodies, maybe ask yourself why. Well, the reason is simple. I don't like the way fat bodies look. I like the way a lean, muscular body looks. I don't like when a man has a belly that looks like he's 8 months pregnant with triplets. There's just nothing attractive about that. If he has soft looking, narrow or round shoulders, he doesn't look strong. It's not as though I'm looking for a protector, a man to protect me, but apparently that's the reason that's genetically hardwired in women to go crazy when they see a man who's buff. They don't go crazy when they see a man who's got this big bear belly and who's hunched over and has these scrawny, soft looking legs and a real flat butt and no muscle tone. They're not taught that. And conversely, men are not taught that that a fat body is unattractive. It's something that we're hardwired. Now, that doesn't mean somebody can't fall in love with somebody who just happens to be fat. They could find fatness unattractive and still fall in love with somebody who's fat, but that's different. This woman here is talking about the concept of finding fat bodies attractive. She continues, while individual preferences are valid, yes, they are very valid, it's important to note that when a collective preference consistently excludes a marginalized group, as in obese people, it often stems from ingrained biases that have not been addressed. No, it is not ingrained. I'm telling you, nobody ever taught me. Not family members, not teachers, not classmates, neighbors, coworkers. Nobody on TV taught me that fat bodies are unattractive. Okay, my favorite show when I was around 9 years old, 8, 9, 10, somewhere around there, was Emergency. And always in the background of hospital scenes are nurses walking all over the place in all directions. All of those nurses appear to be like a size 2, 4, 6, and 8. You'll never see a chubby nurse. You'll never see a husky or a thick nurse. You'll never see a fat nurse. That's not why I think fat bodies are unattractive and unsightly, because I saw nothing but slender bodies growing up on TV. No, that's not why. And the fact that all the commercials I've seen over the years almost always, especially if you go back a few decades, almost always show slender women, women who would be considered thin, and very rarely overweight women or chubby women, just because commercials in general feature slim women. That's not why I don't find fatness attractive. Not at all. Come on. We are the highest life form on the planet. We are capable, the human brain is capable of coming up with preferences all on its own. I'm sure that here's a thought experiment for you. Imagine that there's thousands of remote islands with survival needs that are met. So one person is born on that island. So they've never seen another human being. And just pretend for a moment that robots that are shaped like boxes teach these lone people, these solitary people on each one of these islands how to talk and think and do math, paintings and whatnot, but they in all of that, they never see another human being. They never see another human being. They get music, food, all their survival needs are met. And then one day when they're 25 or 30, they are shown pictures of other humans, or other humans come to the island, and these pictures or the actual people coming to the island include skinny, slender, straight size, thick, fat, obese, morbidly obese, super morbidly obese. Do you really think that these thousands of people who have been solitarily living on these remote islands and who are seeing humans for the first time, do you really believe they're not going to have a preference for any body type? Do you really believe they're not going to have an aversion to any particular body type? If they were asked who has a good looking body, who has an ugly body, who has a body you don't like, who has a body you would never want to have, I assure you the vast majority would choose the obese bodies, fat bodies, as the bodies they would not want to have for themselves, and as the bodies that they don't think are attractive at all in any way, and they would never choose those bodies for their intimate mate, even though they were never taught. We're hardwired, just like lower forms of animals are hardwired to find certain traits in the opposite sex of their species as attractive. For instance, the peacock with the biggest plume of and the most colorful plume of feathers gets the female. Same thing with animals that have horns or racks, or the biggest animal, the just why would we be hardwired less than other animal species to find certain traits attractive and unattractive in the opposite sex? Just because we have the biggest brains and are way smarter than other animals doesn't mean we still can't think on an instinctive level and be hardwired to think a certain way as far as what we find attractive in nature and what we don't find attractive in nature. Now, her last post on this topic: make an effort to recognize the beauty, cuteness, and attractiveness in people with larger bodies. No matter how much effort somebody tries to make, like telling themselves over and over, well, that 300-pound body is attractive. That 280-pound body, 280 pounds stuffed into a 5'2" frame, that's attractive, that's pretty, that's beautiful, that's very becoming. There's no way you can convince yourself any more than, for instance, convincing yourself that a food that you hate the taste of is very tasty. I hate beets. I swear, if I was eating beets, I'd probably vomit. But many people love beets. Many people. So just because a lot of people like something or find something attractive doesn't mean I can force myself to. And the opposite is also true. Many people hate, I don't know, let's say raw broccoli. Many people hate raw broccoli. I hate raw broccoli, but not because many people hate it. Broccoli gets a bad rap, but that's not why I hate raw broccoli. I actually like steamed broccoli very much. Steamed broccoli tastes a lot different than raw broccoli. But the reason I hate raw broccoli isn't because, and has nothing to do with the fact that it gets a bad rap and it carries a stigma with it. Kids, there's always things like, kids, eat your broccoli. That's got nothing to do with the fact that I find it very unattractive or unpalatable to my taste buds. It has nothing to do with that. It's just the way my brain and everything is wired. I just don't like raw broccoli. So she also says, it's perfectly fine if you still don't find them, fat people that is, personally attractive in the end, but attempting to see it can help you understand that your preferences may be more influenced by societal biases and fat phobia than you realize. I'll read that again. I kind of rushed that through. It'll help you to understand that your preferences may be more influenced by societal biases and fat phobia than you realize. Again, I can't say this enough. If I have an aversion to fatness in a man, this has nothing to do with societal biases. Look, all kids grow up being taught about the existence of Santa Claus, and he's a pretty fat guy. Yet I still always found fatness unattractive in a man. But guess what? I find skinniness unattractive in a man. I wouldn't want a man who's the so-called, the proverbial 90-pound weakling. As for women, now I'm not attracted to women, but as for what I would like in my own body, I would never want to be fat. I would be devastated if I woke up tomorrow a size 26. I would be devastated, but not because of anything that society allegedly taught me. I would also be devastated if I woke up tomorrow weighing 79 pounds. I would be thoroughly in fear of my life and extremely distressed and distraught if I woke up tomorrow with a body like Eugenia Cooney, even though a lot of young girls, a lot of teen girls, a lot of women would like to look like her, believe it or not. If you can believe that, it's true. There are a lot of women out there, anorexia nervosa, who are wanting to, they might be like 95 or 90 pounds. They want to get down to Eugenia Cooney's weight, and they actually think she's attractive. I think she looks disgusting. She looks grotesque. She looks like death. She looks like she's 5 pounds away from death. I bet she won't last another 24 months. Yet we're taught that ultra thinness is attractive. I wouldn't want to look like somebody who's not as thin as Eugenia Cooney, but considered thin like Angelina Jolie. We're taught that being very thin is attractive, but I don't like that either. It's because of my natural hardwiring. The body I think looks great. The body that I think is the most attractive in a woman is a muscular body. Now I don't mean bulky, hulked up like a professional bodybuilder. They take steroids if they're professional, but just a muscular body like many Olympic athletes have. Nobody taught me that. These fat acceptance people, body positive influencers need to give people who have the biggest brain of all the animals more credit. We are not always ruled by society, by societal biases. We're also not always ruled by genetics and hardwiring. Sometimes something could be an acquired taste, which is why in certain cultures they may really love a certain food, whereas in another culture, that food is disliked by most people. So, yeah, a lot of things could be learned, but that's just food, for instance, or tastes in music. Nobody taught me that obesity is unsightly. It just plain is. I mean, look at that show, My 600-Pound Life. There is nothing attractive or beautiful about those bodies. Well, anyways, that's food for thought, no pun intended. That's all I have to say for this. Please post your comments about whether or not you believe the kind of body you're attracted to is based mostly on what you were taught or just your natural preference. And have a great day.